welcome to my channel. Anna Bella, and today I'm going to be doing a film review. I'm going to be reviewing the movie Breath. It's a 12A and it came out in 2017. It stars Claire Foy from The Crown and Andrew Garfield from the Amazing Spider-Man series. It's set in 1958 and it is Andy Serkis of Lord of the Rings and Hobbit fame, and it's Andy Serkis' first directorial debut. It's based on a true story and it's about a man who is an adventurer. He can fly a plane. He basically brokers coffee, so he has to go to Africa and do coffee deals. His name is Robin Cavendish, and he falls ill at the age of 28, and nobody's quite sure what happened to him at first, but actually he falls ill from polio and he's paralysed from the neck down, which means he can only sort of move his eyes. He can turn his head. He's lucky because he can do this, and that's about as far as his movement goes. It is, at the time, there is not a great lot of support for people who are classed as severely disabled. He has a young wife who's only just had a newborn son, and they think that Robbie's going to be fine because she has no idea that polio can do this to you. This is way before iron lungs. They have to be on a respirator 24/7, lying on a bed. It is, as one of the characters says, it's no life at all. Eventually you follow Robin. He has a great depression, absolutely great depression. His wife then says, look, you've got to choose to live. And there's this parable of this African tribesman whose men get captured. The African tribesman, who's the leader, says to his men, it's time to die. And in the morning when the guards come for the prison, they find all the African men dead because they have just chosen to die because their leader told them to. In this, Robin chooses to live until his quality of life is just not worth it. But that's not the main point of this. The main point of this story is how people treated people at the time with severe disabilities. They were not severe disabilities, they were acquired through illness. How did society treat these people? They were seen as needing to be put away because it was shameful to have them out. It wasn't the done thing. They needed to be cosseted and protected from the attitudes of others. But these people wanted to live a life. Robin, who has chosen to live, one, to please his wife, two, to see his son Jonathan grow up, and three, to improve life for other people with the same condition as he has, because Robin is fairly lucky because he's upper class. At one point he says, darling, do you remember those shares that I got? Because he's reading the newspaper, the pink pages, and he says, darling, do you remember those shares I bought? Well, they've done rather well. So he's a rather wealthy upper class man. And he actually develops a chair that has a respirator in it, which means he can leave his bed. I mean, first his family have to battle to get him out of the hospital, which they do. They're able to care for him at home, but there's the constant thing. The power cannot go out. If they lose electricity, his respirator won't work, and they have to use a bag respirator because he cannot breathe for himself. It's the only thing keeping him alive. He's fully conscious, fully awake. He's not in a coma or anything like that. He's just sort of frozen. He and his engineer friends develop this chair with a respirator inside, and he decides to give it to other people with severe disabilities. They paint in it and develop it for the NHS, who then use it, which helps other patients, which is great. He then goes to a conference on severe disabilities in Germany, and he's shocked to discover there, because when he turns up at the hospital is actually under the control of the Home Office, i.e. the prison service in Germany. So people with severe disabilities are incarcerated. They've got a lovely, it was clean, it was just really bizarre, they were stacked. There are some great moments in this film. Lovely cinematography, lovely views, because you go from Africa, England, Germany. There's the countryside, there's all the beach. There are some really good life-affirming moments. the film continues on, and then what happens is if you've been on a respirator for a very long time, as Robin has, he's managed to, one, live at home with the support of his family. His wife becomes his main carer because they're able to do so because of his share money. They're able to raise their son Jonathan together, but it does take a dark turn because once you've been on a respirator for a very long time, what happens is your lungs start to get damaged and you bleed out. And this is when Robin's quality of life really starts to tank. And this is where he says, I chose to live, I've had a great life, but now my quality of life has tipped. And because he has always been sound of mind, because mental capacity law comes in here, because he's always been sound of mind and he was perfectly healthy before he had polio. Polio affected him and paralysed him. So he was never born with a disability, it was done by illness. So he then, at the time it's completely illegal, the doctor who has been helping him to basically improve the lives of these polio patients, then arranges a time when he can be euthanized, but his next of kin must be out of the house. So what the doctor does is the doctor turns up, they arrange for his next of kin to go to a coffee, his wife and his son to go to a coffee shop. They don't order anything, they just sit there for about half an hour or 45 minutes and then they go back home so that they can catch Robin to say goodbye to him. It's a very interesting film. It throws up lots of different questions. I really enjoyed it. I'm giving it 5 out of 5. Some people would say it's sentimental, maybe a bit sickly. It is life affirming. It's got some really great messages and it's interesting. Should quality of life be the overriding principle of everything? That's quite interesting because you can apply it to now. Yes, we're in lockdown, our quality of life has decreased, but we're still alive. Does that mean that we need to commit suicide? No. Our quality of life has just been put on hold. We will get it back. For other people, I'm not advocating that you should commit suicide. It's a deeply personal decision and it's also illegal, but it's a complicated topic and it's not straightforward. There's also the slippery slope of euthanasia and abortion and all of these other things. Have to balance the argument, people. Quality of life to how life is actually lived. And it's very complicated with people with disabilities. This case is unique because this gentleman didn't have a disability at birth. It was acquired through illness, as are many spinal injuries, weirdly enough, and neck injuries. Anyway, I've talked long enough. This has got really complicated and we've moved vastly away from the film, but that's not a bad thing. Like, comment and subscribe, and thank you for the support. Stay safe. Bye.